Good evening, everyone. I am Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis, which goes live every day at 4 p.m. on StudyIQ IS English channel. Today is 28th of April, and we are going to cover important news and articles that have been there in our today's newspaper. We'll start by understanding the very front page news that has been covered in the Indian Express about corporate social responsibility, because the article which I'll tell you today highlights that there has been an increase in spending by the companies under the section of corporate social responsibility. So what is corporate social responsibility? How the companies are mandated to spend some or certain amount of their profits on these activities? What are the activities that are covered under corporate social responsibility? All of this we are going to cover in our today's discussion. In the second article, we'll be understanding about a species in news that is endemic and available only in India, that is Asiatic lions. Because a cub was born in the zoo of Delhi to an Asiatic lion which is under the Delhi Zoo. So that is why we are going to discuss Asiatic lions, particularly from the perspective of our prelims examination, because any species that has been in news automatically becomes important, and Asiatic species, they are the flagship species when it comes to Indian jungles, because you might have heard in Hindi, right? Jungle ka Raja kaun? That's lion. Okay, so we are going to cover everything that is relevant from your exams perspective, and particularly with respect to Asiatic lions. Now, first article is relevant from GS paper 3 perspective because it deals with a matter relating to inclusive growth. Second, also relative to GS paper 3, particularly environment, because any species that is in news and we need to protect those species, particularly the flagship ones like lion and tiger, etc. Therefore, this becomes important. In the third article, we'll be understanding about the former chairman of ISRO, Dr. K. Kasturirangan, who passed away recently. However, Dr. K. Kasturirangan's contribution to India was not just limited to space sector. Rather, he was very politically respected by all the political parties concerned. That is why you'll see his participation in major policy making in India, and also he became the members of various committees that are that have been formed on various aspects by the government of India. So we'll cover everything that is the life of Dr. K. Kasturirangan, how he contributed significantly to India's space program, his notable contributions, that is PSLV and development of cryogenic engines, and also his contributions beyond the space sector. This is relevant particularly from GS paper 3 perspective, and even if you look at the main syllabus, you will see personalities that have been in news, their contributions have been asked in the exam. So this is relevant from multiple perspectives. In the fourth article, we'll be understanding about Kuno National Park. Now, you remember last week itself, we discussed about Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, because cheetahs from Kuno, they were shifted to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, Kuno National Park is in news because a new baby cheetahs have been born to the cheetahs. That is why we need to revise again the various aspects about a protected area located in Madhya Pradesh, that is Kuno National Park. For many reasons, both Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary and Kuno National Park has been in news. So the probability of question appearing on these topics, particularly with respect to cheetah, in this year's examination is quite high. So we can't afford to miss out on such important places that have been in news. Therefore, this again relevant from GS paper 3 perspective. And in the fifth article, we'll be understanding why the peninsula of Crimea, which was annexed by Russia, is so important. Because why actually Russia annexed this particular piece of land from Ukraine and its strategic significance for Russia. We'll cover this in our today's discussion. Also, this Crimean peninsula is located in Black Sea. So therefore, Black Sea again becomes important from our exam. Also, other parts of the neighboring areas to Black Sea, that is Kerch Strait, Dardanelles Strait, Bosphorus Strait, also important from our exams perspective. So we are going to cover everything that is relevant from Crimea and its neighboring areas from our exams perspective, right? So that is why it is relevant from place in news and also from GS paper 2 perspective. So these 5 articles we are going to cover today. Baga, Sarang, Augustine, Yashi, Bhanu, Binu, Rishi, Soma, all of you, good evening. Now, I guess there was this comment earlier. I am not seeing it now. Nancy, yes. This session is very much relevant from CLAT exam also, because I understand CLAT also covers significant current affairs, and we deal with what? We deal with current affairs. So naturally, whenever you will watch these sessions on a daily basis, you will get to know that your current understanding and the understanding of the issues are improving, which will be very much helpful for your CLAT examination. Madison, Sheetal, Vaishnavi, also good evening. Hi to Madison. Namaskar to Soma. Okay. So let us start our today's discussion. The notes for this session will be available on my Telegram channel as usual, ATS Live, and also the sessions that I take up otherwise beyond this particular session, those notes also will be available on my Telegram channel. So in case I have not uploaded some of the notes of other videos also, you can ask me that. I will upload them in the Telegram channel ATS Live. Okay. So let us get started with our today's discussion. This first article, if you can see, it appeared in the front page of the Indian Express newspaper, and it states that listed firms record 16% rise in their corporate social responsibility, abbreviated as CSR spending. Now CSR as a topic, this appeared in the prelims of 2024, so naturally it is an important topic, and when such significant development has happened, that is increase in overall spending by the companies, this again makes it important from our exams perspective, that is from the economy perspective. So let us try to understand the context of this article. Now you can see the top 10 spenders that have been given in the newspapers. Just for your information sake, HDFC Bank is the highest spender when it comes to corporate social responsibility, followed by Reliance Industries, TCS, the PSU, ONGC, Tata Steel, ICICI Bank, and other PSUs and important companies. You need not remember these companies, not important from our exams perspective. What you need to remember is that the concept of corporate social responsibility and how companies are mandated to spend some amount of their profit on social activities, right? So this is important, and I'm just borrowing this context to help you understand the concept of corporate social responsibility. Now you understand, whenever a company is making a product, selling it in a market, the companies do so to make profit, right? This is the primary motive of you forming and starting a company, to do business and make money out of it. Now, as a part of that manufacturing process, company rewards to various stakeholders in different manner. For example, employees who are employed at the company, they are paid respected salaries. The shareholders of the company, they are paid in the equity, and when company performs well, the value of their shares or equity rises. Similarly, investors are also liable to get dividend from the company, which is a portion of their profit. Also, companies borrow and buy raw materials from other companies, for which they pay to the other companies as well. So this is how companies rewards its various stakeholders, be it raw material suppliers, be it employees, be it the investors and shareholders of the company. Now you have to understand, to manufacture any good or to undertake a business process, this is not solely an economic thing to do, because there are many unsaid social factors also which are contributing to the society. That is, for example, a company might be set in a particular location, so the area surrounding it, they might be facing different kinds of problems due to increased traffic, due to increased noise, due to increased pollution. So this corporate social responsibility concept, it emerges by the fact that company needs also to return some amount of their monetary benefits to the society as well, because society directly or indirectly is contributing to the profits of the company, right? So company should also return some portion of this profit to the wider development of the society. So this is where the corporate social responsibility concept comes in. Now you can't obviously make companies to spend any amount of their profits, because why wouldn't any company want to maximize their profit and minimize their expenditure? So Government of India came up with a legislation under Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013, mandating companies to spend some amount of their profit or a specified portion of their profit on these corporate social responsibility. So this is not just a this is not just a voluntary thing that the companies will have to do, it is a mandatory thing that the companies should spend specified portion of their profit on benefiting the entire or a wider society. Understand the concept of this corporate social responsibility? Any doubt? Office data, sir, can you discuss some important studying tips to be taken care while studying? See, whenever you are to have any doubt what to study and what not to study, just follow my sessions. Emphasize on the fact on which I pay more attention in the class, right? So I told you the concept of corporate social responsibility. Also, what is important is the law that mandates corporate social responsibility on the companies, right? So suppose the data which company is spending more amount of money on corporate social responsibility, not important from your exam. Understand? So this is how you should approach your sessions on a general. Now I told you what is the concept of corporate social responsibility, and I also told you the law which mandates the companies to spend some amount of money on corporate social responsibility. Now, on which kind of companies is CSR mandatory? Is every company who is functioning in India required to pay CSR, or only the some amount of companies that required to pay CSR? Let us try to find that one out. That is, what are the criteria which qualifies the company to spend money on CSR? Now, this provision is applicable to companies that meet one of or more than one of these requirements. For example, the net worth of this company should be more than 500 crore. Turnover or revenue of the company should be at least 1000 crore or more than that, and the net profit of the company should be at least 5 crore or more during the immediate preceding financial year. So what is the current financial year that is going? It is 2025 and 26. So for any company to fulfill this requirement of CSR, they need to have at least 5 crore of profit in the last financial year, that is 2024 and 25. Similarly, their revenue should be more than 1000 crore and net worth should be more than 500 crores in this particular financial year. So either of one of these three conditions are satisfied, they need to pay some amount of money to CSR activity. Right, so they are required to spend on CSR activity. How much money they are required to spend, I'll tell you. And this decision on how to spend, where to spend, this decision is made by a CSR committee. So first let us find out what is a CSR committee, then we'll go to understanding how much amount of money should the company spend on CSR activity. Now, for purposes of deciding where to spend this money, on what sectors, on what kind of work we need to spend money on CSR, companies, they form a separate CSR committee which constitutes of some of the board of directors of the company itself, right? So company in general is controlled by a body known as board of directors, and some of these board of directors are cornered and say that, see, you will be heading the CSR committee, and then it is your responsibility to decide in what kind of activity should the company spend their CSR money on, right? So this committee is responsible for formulating and recommending CSR policy to the board, overseeing the implementation of CSR work, and also ensuring the compliance with the law of the land. So it is the CSR committee of respective companies responsible for CSR activities. Karma is back. Good evening. Soma Thakur, ATS Live, this discussion, how much useful for pre-2025? Very much useful. Soma. She does not call me Ankit, she calls me ATS Live. Very funny. Okay. Now I told you, what are those CSR activities? I will tell you. Dharya, patience. Now, I told you, who decides on what to spend on CSR activity? That is CSR committee. Now the question is, how much money should company be spending on CSR activities? Now companies are required to spend at least 2% of their average net profit during the 3 immediately preceding financial year on the CSR activity. So what is the current financial year? 2025-26. So how the company should decide how much money should they spend on CSR activity? They will decide based on the earning that they are getting on 24-25, 23-24 and 2022 to 23. So these are the 3 preceding financial year. So if a company is functioning today, they have to take into account the profit they have made in the last 3 financial years. So for example, they made 10 crore profit here, they made 15 crore profit here, and they made 20 crore profit here. So what is the average profit of these 3 years? It will be rupees 15 crore rupees. And how much they are required to spend? At least 2% of the money, right? So 2% of 15 crore is how much? It is 30 lakh rupees. Understood? So 30 lakh rupees, any hypothetical company, if it is making an average profit of 15 crore every year, they need to spend 30 lakh rupees on the CSR activities. Any doubts? Now, what if this company fails to spend this much amount of money in a particular year on CSR activity? Then it must disclose the reasons why it hasn't been able to fulfill the requirement of CSR report in its annual report which it files with Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Understood? No problem, Soma. Now, let us understand what are the activities or what activities can companies spend when it comes to CSR activities. Okay. Now there are 17 categories which are mentioned in Schedule 7th of Companies Act 2013, under which the companies can spend money on, which will qualify for CSR spending. First, it can take measures to eradicate hunger, poverty, malnutrition. It can promote education, employment, healthcare. It can take care of environmental sustainability and conservation. For example, it can create parks nearby. It can provide for benches in the school. It can provide for books to be distributed to school children. It can provide food to the people who need food or who are facing poverty and malnutrition. It can take measures for gender equality, women empowerment, and it can ensure environmental sustainability and support for armed forces, war veteran and families. So these are the sections in general among which the company should spend money on. Understood now, Devdarshan? Now, there was some recent changes also that was made in the CSR requirements. Let us try to fulfill and understand that also, so that our understanding of the concept becomes incomplete. So, after this, you are not required to refer anything when it comes to CSR activities. Understood? Now, in 2019, company made certain amendments. What were these amendments? Companies Act 2019. The government said that in case some amount of money that companies were not able to spend on CSR activities, then they should be transferred to a separate bank account and they should be used by the company within the 3 years period. Similarly, companies also need to take mandatory impact assessment on how their CSR activities are bringing change in the lives of people, how their CSR activities are making things better for the society in general. So, therefore, it will involve significant expenditure, and similarly, those expenditures are actually whether or not it is benefiting the community. Also, they have to file for whatever work they are doing on an online portal of the government, so that government knows whatever is happening and whether or not these changes or spending made by the companies are effective or not. Understood? So this is what you need to understand about CSR activities. Now let's see if you are able to solve this PYQ that appeared in 2024. Quickly. Good evening, Anchal. Well, statement 2, CSR rules do not specify minimum spending on CSR activities. This automatically is incorrect, because I told you at least they need to spend at least 2% of the money in the last or average profit of last 3 financial years on CSR activities, right? Now, first statement, if you look, CSR rules specify that expenditures that company make on benefit of the employees directly or companies directly, they should not be considered as CSR activities. Yes, this is correct. Why? I told you the concept of corporate social responsibility is that company in general, they provide many benefits to their stakeholders. Be it the suppliers of raw material, companies pay the money to them. Companies pay salary to their employees. Companies pay equity or dividend to their shareholders, right? So those are the expenditures that company makes in their normal businesses expenditure, right? But when it comes to CSR activities, these activities are specifically those spending which the companies need to make beyond their business requirement. They need to make this spending so that society in general who do not have any direct stake in your company is benefited. Poor people living nearby, or any student who might be studying in a school nearby who does not have any relation with the company, those children should be benefited. So this is the very idea of CSR activity. So even if you did not know the exact provisions of CSR, by using your common sense, you could have solved this question easily. And right now, most of you get, yes, you all are right. Option A is correct. Now, Baga thinks CSR gives any tax exemption. Well, actually not. You know why? Because the total amount of profit that the company is making, companies will need to pay tax on that. But those amount of money that is spent on CSR activities, that gets deducted before calculating the corporate tax. So this is kind of an indirect benefit that government says that please do not calculate this profit under your total taxable profit. Yes, Vaishnavi also, office data, Baga, Sheetal, Priyalata, Rishi, Bhanu, Yashi, every one of you are right. Soma, option B nahi, option A hai. Amar, yes, correct. Sarang, yes, correct. Now moving to the second article, this is a Delhi specific article, so I guess people who are reading editions other than Delhi edition might not see this article. But why I took this article? Not because it happened in Delhi, but because it dealt with Asiatic lands. So Asiatic lands becomes important from our exam, right? So this article appeared on page 4 and it is relevant because this Asiatic lion is the subject of our today's discussion. Now, why this Asiatic lion was in news? Because for the first time in 16 years, a 5-year-old Asiatic lioness known as Mahagauri, she delivered 4 cubs in Delhi Zoo early in the morning. Now, there are 3 Asiatic lions that are present in Delhi who were a part or who were brought to Delhi as a part of animal exchange program. Now, you understand, Asiatic lions are only available in India and they are only available in India in a specific part of India, that is in Gujarat in Gir National Park and its wildlife sanctuary. So, in order to bring those lions to other protected areas like zoos, the government takes part in what is known as animal exchange program, right? So that is why Asiatic lions are present in Delhi. They are not present in the wild, rather they are in captivity in zoo. Okay, so please do not get it mistaken as Asiatic lions are also available in Delhi. They are available, but they are under captivity. They are not in the wild in Delhi. Okay. Now let us quickly understand few facts relating to Asiatic lions. Now Asiatic lions also are known as Persian lion or Indian lion. They belong to a subspecies known as Panthera leopersica, right? So tigers, they have different species, African lions, Asiatic lions. We are dealing with Asiatic lions that are found exclusively in India, specifically in Gir National Park and Wildlife Sanctuary located in the state of Gujarat. Now, what you will be surprised to know that Asiatic lions were earlier available in many countries, specifically in Western Asia and Middle East. For example, they were available in Saudi Arabia, they were available in UAE, but now they have become extinct in these regions and India is only the last place where these species of Asiatic lions are available. Now, what have I told you about any species that is in use? You need to understand 3 aspects of those species: habits, habitats and protection status. So I told you about their habitats. In India, they are located in Gujarat, specifically in Gir Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park. Now, in a scope of our today's discussion, we'll understand both protection status and habits of these species also, need not worry. Now, the current distribution of these lions, that the last census of these lions which happened in 2020 told us that 674 lions are spread across 30,000 square kilometers in 9 districts of the peninsula of Saurashtra, which again is located in Gujarat, and in this Saurashtra peninsula only you will see the Gir National Park. Okay, now because of their sustained conservation in India, IUCN recently has moved these Asiatic lions from being called as endangered to now they are categorized as a vulnerable on the IUCN red list. So this is an important fact. Now, on a broader general, let us compare these tigers with other species of lion, that is African lion, and let us also in that regard understand the habits as well as the protection status of the lion. Now, when you compare the size of Asiatic lion with that of African lion, you will find that Asiatic lion is slightly smaller in size as compared to the African lion. Also, the mane or the fur that you see in front of the tiger, that is called as mane, it is shorter or less developed when it comes to Asiatic lions, whereas the African lions, they have a very full or a denser mane. So, you'll see the kind of tigers that you'll appear as they are featuring in a shampoo ad, those mostly are African lions. Okay. Now, the social behavior of the Asiatic lion is also very different from African lion. First of all, for Asiatic lions, male, they usually stay with the pride or the group of lions, whereas males of African lion, they leave the pride unless they require mating or they require to kill other tigers or lions also, right? Now, the habitat of these species are also very different. In terms of habitat, the Asiatic tigers are available in dry deciduous forest, whereas African lions are available in savannas, shrublands as well as deserts. The distribution of Asiatic lion is very limited. They are exclusively available only in the Gir region of Gujarat, whereas the African lions are widespread in the entire sub-Saharan Africa. Now their protection status when it comes to IUCN status is same, both are vulnerable species, but what you have to remember, their CITES listing is different. They are more protected when it comes to Asiatic lands. In terms of CITES listing, they are more protected as compared to the African lands, whereas the protection status available in Indian legislation, it is given to Asiatic lands because it is present there of the Schedule 1. Similarly, there are no protection status extended in Indian laws to the African land, naturally because they are not available here. Understood? Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular PYQ which appeared in 2019. Sarang is asking, sir, D is right or not? Well, Yashi, how can you mark B? I told you Asiatic lions are naturally found only in India, right? So, first automatically is correct because you know it from our today's discussion. You at least couldn't get it wrong, okay? Now, double humped camel, you know, they are endemic to Gobi Desert in China. And they are available in many countries, including the Ladakh region in India. So they are not naturally found in India only, rather they are naturally originating in China and they are available in many countries including India. Similarly, one-horned rhinoceros, which is very important species when it is found in Kasturirangan National Park in Assam, these are primarily mostly available in India, but they are also available in the country of Nepal. So third also incorrect. Therefore, option A, first only, is the right answer. Ankit Sharma, my namesake, sir, I generally don't watch your session live due to time issues. No problem. As long as you watch these sessions at any time, it will be good for you. Shanika, yes, Bhanu, Rishi, every one of you right. Camel spread across the world. Well, double humped camel I asked you, right? Not single humped. Mostly the camels that you find in India, in Thar desert region, those are single humped. Double humped are very different. Rhinos, this question was talking about one-horned rhinoceros, not just rhinos. They were asking very specific about the specific species, not lions, not camels, not rhinoceros in general. They asked about Asiatic lions, they asked about double-humped camel, and they asked about one-horned rhinoceros. That's why I ask you to read each and every word carefully. Can camels swim? Well, I'm not sure. As far as I remember, I think so they can swim. So please reread the questions whenever you are attempting it very carefully. Now moving to the next article. This article appeared in the editorial page of the Indian Express newspaper, which is on page 8 today, and it talks about a man who contributed significantly in our space sector, Dr. K. Kasturirangan. And why we are talking about Dr. K. Kasturirangan? Because recently he passed away at the age of 84, and he had a very defining role in the India space program. So in order to honor his achievement, let us try to find out what actually were his achievement and why is so widely respected in the Indian society and Indian polity in general. Okay. Now, first let us very quickly give me a very brief overview of India's space program. Now, what people do usually is that we compare our own space program with that of more developed nations like USSR, like China, like US. But you have to understand the priorities of India is very different as compared to the priorities of say US or Russia, because the major developments that US and Russia, erstwhile that was Soviet Union, they did in the arena of space was due to geopolitical competition. So it was actually a pissing contest between these two countries who gets more achievement when it came to space. So they started by sending satellites, eventually they sent humans into space, into other planetary and outer planetary bodies like moon. So this was essentially a geopolitical concept. But in general, India does not have the kind of money, does not have that kind of resources in 70s or 80s as compared to the more developed nations, right? So India's priorities were very different. So India, when it started to spend its money on space program, its actual intention was to take developmental and modernizing effort. Its intention was not to compete with any other country. So therefore, India's space program is sui generis in nature. It is very unique in nature, right? So that is why whenever you understand India's space program, you have to put it very separately as compared to developed nations. Now, having said that, let me tell you where Dr. K. Kasturirangan comes in. Now, from every time you will understand many of the backward regions in India, whenever they are accessing internet, for example, earlier when there were no optical fiber connectivity in say islands like Lakshadweep or Andaman and Nicobar, the internet was provided to where? How was internet provided? It was provided through satellite. Similarly, whenever the weather department issues any alerts to farmers about the rainfall or lack of rainfall, it is also issued when the weather departments actually studies the weather patterns or changes in the clouds availability through satellite. Similarly, people receive timely cyclone warnings also by weather department, and this is also done through the space sector, that is through satellite. So this is the essential intention of the government earlier when they started India's own space program. That is, whatever achievement or whatever thing we do in space, it should widely benefit the Indian society. It should widely benefit the Indian people, right? Now, let us talk about the people which we are discussing, that is Dr. K. Kasturirangan. Now, he was also a part of team that launched India's first satellite, that was Aryabhatta, and also he was one of the key people. He was an astrophysicist. He prepared the groundwork for India's successful missions to Moon and Mars. Mars mission was called as Mangalyaan, Moon mission. We all know we have sent 3 missions to the Moon. They are called as Chandrayaan. Now, therefore, his key role from the start to right now is what it makes him famous. Also, he was the head or chairperson of ISRO between 1994 and 2003, and this was a very turbulent time when it came to ISRO, because ISRO, it faced many problems. It required to fulfill India's rising aspirational and developmental needs, but on the other hand, India also faced strict international sanctions and restrictions after it tested its nuclear weapons due to the sanctions primarily imposed by Western nations, and this actually restricted on how ISRO can get technologies and help from other countries including Russia. We'll get into this particular topic later on in our session, okay? Now, what you also have to understand, Dr. K. Kasturirangan, in addition to many significant contributors of ISRO, including Dr. Kalam, they were groomed by none other than the father of India's space program, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. Now, what was Dr. Vikram Sarabhai's intention behind setting up of ISRO is that India should have an independent space program which should cater to its developmental needs, and we need not compete with other countries. And he believed that funding constraints shouldn't restrict India in its technology ambition. So therefore, Dr. Sarabhai's intention was to get the maximum amount of output through whatever funding that the ISRO is getting from the government. So this is what was called doing more with the less amount of money. And this idea of getting maximum efficiency from your funding was also ingrained in the philosophy of Dr. K. Kasturirangan. So therefore, you will understand whatever missions that India conducted after its space program, that is Mars mission called as Mangalyaan Moon, it was achieved at a very fractional of the cost that other countries have spent. Prime Minister Modi very famously highlighted that the budget of Interstellar, which is a very famous movie regarding space, was $165 million, and compared that to India's own budget of the Mangalyaan mission, it was just $74 million. Understand? So this is the difference. You can make a Hollywood movie for much higher amount of money as compared to spending your space probe to another planet, that is Mars. So this is how he has actually influenced the policy of ISRO to get maximum amount of output or outcomes through a very limited amount of funding when you compare our funding or ISRO's funding with NASA's funding or other space organizations' funding, okay? Also, what you have to understand is that ISRO played a very important role when it came to remote sensing initiatives, because remote sensing is a very essential activity which we use to estimate the levels of our crop, the moisture levels of our crop, the productivity of our crop. It is very useful for fishermen because it tells the fishermen where they are expecting higher amount of fishes to be present, which saves their effort and time in catching the fishes. It also helps people in the health sector and education sector, where you can communicate with other people located very far away from you with using internet, which is again provided in many cases through satellite. So this is the overall benefit that ISRO has given to the society, and Dr. K. Kasturirangan, as a part of the team, as a head of ISRO, has played a very important role. Now, in addition to that, Kasturirangan also played a very leading voice when it came to how India's space program would change after the liberalization has happened. Because Kasturirangan, he recognized that India can't be dependent on other countries when it came to developing of its space technologies. Because if we want to become a superpower, we need to have our technology, we need to have our own resources, and we can't be dependent on other countries, be it US or be it Russia, right? So that is why it was a very important role that Kasturirangan set his sight on achieving higher degrees of indigenization in his space program. Some of it was by our own decision, some of it was enforced by certain circumstances, which we'll discuss today. Now, he played a very important role in development and achievement of the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle PSLV, which now is a very reliable launcher when it comes to ISRO's launching satellites into outer space. It has not failed at least once, and it has played an important role, not just sending satellites of ISRO but of other countries also. And India, as I told you already, after 1998 nuclear test in Pokhran, many Western countries including US, they imposed certain sanctions on us. This sanction also prohibited us from importing key technologies like cryogenic engines from, say, our very important allies known as Russia, because Russia at the time needed money and funding from other bodies and it was dependent on US. So US actually prohibited us from importing the cryogenic engines from Russia, and despite various efforts, we were only able to import how many cryogenic engines from Russia? It was only 7. So therefore, the Dr. K. Kasturirangan recognized that in order to become a very important space player or an important space power, we need to develop cryogenic engines on our own, because cryogenic engines have a very important quality known as high specific impulse. Now, what is high specific impulse? It is the ability of an engine to deliver power per your fuel, right? So cryogenic engines deliver more power per a unit amount of fuel as compared to other engines. So to send satellites or other planetary bodies higher into the space, we need more power, and cryogenic engine will provide us exactly that. Understood? Now, in this regard, let us quickly understand from our exams perspective the importance of PSLV, right? PSLV has been the workhorse launch vehicle of ISRO since its development in 1994, and since then it has made more than 60 flights. Now, it was primarily developed to launch remote sensing satellites into sun synchronous orbits. However, after significant iterations and more development, it can even launch small size satellites into a much higher geostationary transfer orbit, right? So that is why with the development of PSLV and its subsequent iteration and development, ISRO has actually depended on PSLV to send most of its payload into outer space. Now, this PSLV is actually a 4-stage rocket which uses an alternate combination of both liquid fuel as well as solid fuel. Now, its first and third stage are fueled by solid fuel, whereas its second and fourth stage, they are propelled by liquid fuel. Now, whenever you require an additional thrust in the first stage, there is also an option that you attach strap-on motors which can be used in addition to first stage, and this strap-on motors are powered by a solid fuel, right? So these are the examples of strap-on motors, these additional ones you can see, right? So these are added in addition to the rocket to provide its extra thrust in the very initial stage of the launch of vehicle, right? Please do not mistake, these strap-on motors are not an additional stage, these are just an addition to the first stage, okay? So this attaching of strap-on motors won't make it a 5-stage rocket, okay? Do not get it mistaken. The strap-on motors are powered by solid fuels and they are added so that the satellite or the rocket has a more power when it came to launching of vehicles, okay? Now, few facts relating to PSLV. PSLV can deliver 3,250 kilograms of payload to low Earth orbit. It can deliver 1,600 kilograms to sun synchronous orbit, whereas as it goes higher, that is geosynchronous transfer orbit, its payload capacity becomes somewhat less, that is 1,400 kilogram. Now, why is PSLV so significant? Because it has gained credibility, because it has a safety record, and therefore it is a leading provider of light share services to smaller satellites. So whenever you'll see there are developments where ISRO is sending more than 100 satellites in one go using this PSLV launch vehicle, that is smaller satellites. Now the notable payloads of PSLVs that it was used to launch Chandrayaan-1, Mangalyaan mission, AstroSat, as well as the Aditya L1 mission which was sent recently. Okay, so this is all you need to know about the PSLV rocket. Now, beyond ISRO, Dr. K. Kasturirangan also had many important significant contributions in India because he was so well respected across political circles. So, you'll see both the Congress-led government and BJP-led government had appointed him as the head of various committees. For example, in late 2000s, there was this Gadgil committee that was formed on how to take developmental activities in Western Ghats, and this Gadgil committee recommended that 67% of the Western Ghat should be designated as an eco-sensitive area. And when you designate 67% of the land in Western Ghats as eco-sensitive area, which means that industrial activity, developmental activities can't happen in this particular area, and this created a lot of controversy because naturally you understand protection of environment is very much necessary, but development is also necessary. We need to balance both of these considerations. So then UPA government, which was headed by Dr. Manmohan Singh in 2012, they formed a committee to review the recommendations made by Gadgil committee, and this indeed was headed by none other than Dr. K. Kasturirangan. So, Dr. K. Kasturirangan committee revised the recommendation made by Gadgil committee, and it said that here was 64% of the land. This Gadgil Kasturirangan committee said that 37% of the land of the Western Ghat should be declared as eco-sensitive areas so as to let higher levels of economic development and construction activity that should take place in the Western Ghats region. Similarly, 5 years later, that is in 2017, the Narendra Modi headed NDA government, they set up a committee to review or to bring a new national education policy, and this was also headed by Kasturirangan sir. So this was his achievement when it came to environmental and sustainable development, and when it came to education policy. Dr. K. Kasturirangan, just by the virtue of his personality, just by the virtue of his recognition beyond political lines, he played a very important role in these sectors. Understood? Any doubt that you have? Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular question which I have curated, very similar to the question that appeared in UPSC on GSLV, right? And this question is about PSLV. Well, PSLV is capable of launching satellites only into synchronous orbit. This is incorrect. I told you geosynchronous as well as geotransfer orbit also they can send the vehicles into. It has been used to launch interplanetary missions like Mars Orbiter mission, Mangalyaan. This is correct. PSLV is a 4-stage launch vehicle powered entirely by solid fuel. This is incorrect. It is powered alternatively by solid and liquid fuel stages. So only 2 is correct. Option B is the right answer. Sarang, please review your question. Baga, Amar, Shanika, Priyalata, Rishi, you have gotten is incorrect. Rest of you have gotten is right. No problem. Do not need to delete it. It is okay if you get it incorrect. The problem of or the part or the role of this session is to get or make you understand everything so that you get everything right in the exam, not here necessarily. Okay. Now this was, I just told you about one of the key aspects of our space program, that is PSLV. There are other important satellites, launch vehicles that is there by ISRO, and we cover everything in detail in our science and tech lectures where subject specific teachers, they take classes for science and technology. Similarly, people take classes for polity, I take for economy, other teachers take it for history, geography respectively, right? Now these classes that are prelims to interview classes or foundation batches, these admissions to the April morning batch is ongoing right now, and the admissions will close for this particular batch in 2 days from now, that is 30th of April. The benefits of various courses that are offered on the platform is given in this slide. You can see from this diagram, it is quite obvious that all the benefits that are available in the StudyIQ platform is available only in the Diamond course. So how to take admissions in either of these three courses? Let me tell you the way to do that, and also how to get maximum discounts for your option. Now go to our website. When you go to our website, this is the website it will open. You need to create an account, and after that what you need to do is go to explore courses. When you go to explore courses, here are options in what kind of languages you want to take admissions in. Suppose if you're not comfortable in Hindi, it is quite okay. What you need to do is click on this UPSC IS English option, and this provides you classes exclusively in English language. Click on this first tile, which will take you to the foundation April morning batch, and as you can see, Diamond batch right now is available at 39,499. But let me tell you a way you can get it. You can get the admissions even lesser for this amount, right? What you need to do, use the code that is flashing on the bottom half of the screen, known as ATS Live, that Soma usually calls me by that name. What you need to do, here you need to add a promo code. When you have to enter the coupon code, write ATS Live and click on apply. When you click on apply, you see the discount is available for 7,000, and the Diamond batch right now it is available at 32,499, which is 2,500 rupees less than the usual amount of 35,000 rupees. Okay, so similarly discounts are also there on Platinum and Gold courses. My recommendation to you is to take the admissions in Diamond batches. Okay, and do not forget to add the code ATS Live if you want to get discount, and please get discount. It is your money and please save it. Okay, now moving to the another article. This one talks about Kuno National Park. We have covered already Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary recently, and when Kuno was in news, my eyes actually lit up. So let us try to understand why is Kuno National Park in news. Now, it is actually a first for Kuno National Park, where a litter of 5 cheetahs cubs were born on Sunday to parents who originated from 2 distinct countries. They were originated from South Africa and Namibia, and when these 2 cheetahs, they gave birth to a litter of 5 cheetah cubs. So this is a significant news. Now, any protected area that becomes important from our exams perspective, what you need to understand is the area which that protected area is located in, what kind of flora fauna is available, and what are its defining characteristics, right? So in this regard, let us quickly get away with the Kuno National Park. Now this is located in Shiopur district in Madhya Pradesh, nestled very close to Vindhyan Hills. Now the national park itself is named after Kuno River, it is one of the tributaries of Chambal River. Chambal River again is a tributary of Yamuna, and therefore Kuno River cuts across this Kuno National Park, giving it the name Kuno. Now initially it was established as a wildlife sanctuary. In 2018 only, the government gave it a status of a national park. National park has a higher protection status when it compares to wildlife sanctuary. Now the vegetation of Kuno is primarily grassland in nature, though few rocky terrains also exist, but it is primarily a grassland, and therefore you'll see cheetahs are mostly settled in a grassland territory because it provides them the area from where they can run actually. Okay, the flora which is available is mostly mixed forest. Kadhai, Salai, Khair trees are the ones that dominate these areas. In terms of fauna, the protected area is home to many predators like jungle cat, Indian leopard, sloth bear, Indian wolf, stripped hyenas, golden jackal, Bengal fox, dhole, along with more than 120 bird species. But what is now the flagship of Kuno National Park? It is cheetah. Now earlier government also had the plan to resettle some of the Asiatic lions from Gir to Kuno National Park, but government has not gone forward with this proposal. Now Kuno National Park was selected under the action plan for reintroduction of cheetahs in India. So let us quickly understand what is Project Cheetah. Now in 2022, government came to a conclusion that no species of cheetah currently in 2022 were present in India. So why not bring some of these cheetahs from other countries, that is in Africa? Because earlier in India, before 1954, there was this Asiatic cheetahs that were available, but right now Asiatic cheetahs are only present in Iran, and there are only 14 in number. So naturally Iran said, we will not give you any of our Asiatic cheetahs. So the other option that the government of India had was to bring African species of cheetahs and source them from other African countries and bring at least 50 of them and relocate them to various protected areas, and they started with Kuno National Park. Now they've moved some of the cheetahs to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, we have already covered it. Implementing agency of this Project Tiger is Project Cheetah is National Tiger Conservation Authority, and the aim is to reintroduce at least 50 cheetahs in various protected areas of our country in 5 years. Now, let us quickly understand few facts about cheetah. It is world's fastest mammal. It is only the large carnivore that has been extinct in India in 1952. Unlike other big cats, what you have to remember is cheetahs, they don't roar at all. So, please do not get mistaken if the question comes that cheetah roar. They do not roar. Now, there are two species of cheetah that exist currently. African cheetahs, this is the one that we have brought in from Africa. Other species is Asiatic cheetah, and it is categorized as critically endangered because only 14 of these species are present where? In Iran right now. Rest, they are not available anywhere. African cheetahs are quite larger in number, therefore they have somewhat liberal protection status in the IUCN Red List. Now let's see quickly if you are able to understand this particular . Well, Kuno National Park was originally designated as a sanctuary for reintroduction of Asiatic lions from Gir National Park. This is correct. It is located in Vindhyan Hills region of Rajasthan. This is incorrect. It is located in Vindhyan Hill region but in Madhya Pradesh. Recently, African cheetahs were introduced in Kuno as a part of India's cheetah reintroduction project. This is correct. So, first and third incorrect. First and third are correct. Second is not. Option B is the right answer. Kaizen option B. Sarang option B. Yashi yes correct. Soma not correct. Rishi correct. Priyalatta C is correct. Not correct. Option B. Vaishnavi, yes, you have gotten it right. Now let us move to the last article of the day. This article actually appeared in the Saturday's newspaper, but this was important and we did not have time on Saturday, so let us cover this today. The rest articles that have been left out, there are some articles in explained today. I will cover it tomorrow, need not worry, okay. So let us quickly deal with this article, and this is important because it talks about Crimea, which is an important place in news. Now the discussion or the context of this article is that US in its negotiation on how to end the Russia-Ukraine war, it is saying that why not give this Crimean Peninsula and recognize the territory of Crimean Peninsula as a part of Russia. Now, what becomes important from this initiative? Why was actually Crimea annexed by Vladimir Putin in 2014 and why is it so important for Russia? And what are the implications does formal US recognition of Crimea has as a part of Russia for Ukraine? But first, let us quickly get away by understanding the map of Russia. Now, you see, Russia is a very vast country and it has more than 30,000 kilometers of sea coast. But most of the sea coast, if you see, it is located above Arctic, of the Arctic Circle, which is mostly in the northern part of our globe. Now, when most of your coastline is located in Arctic Circle, so these ports, they actually become non-functional when it comes to winter season, because in winter season, most of these areas are covered by snow. So, technically, Russia can't use these ports for its military or for its commercial purposes. So, that is why other parts of Russia that is located in the Black Sea region becomes important. So therefore, Russia has other option to get ships or send ships to more warmer waters that is present in the Sea of Azov and Black Sea region. So this is the boundary of Russia that you can see. It has few ports in the Black Sea region known as Novorossiysk. Sorry, I actually pronounced the name of this particular port. It is Novorossiysk and Sochi. Now, other option for Russia was to take this Crimean Peninsula, which before 2014 was under the control of Ukraine. Now, technically, historically, Russia has had its control of the Sevastopol port, which was a part of Crimea. In 1997, there was this Kharkiv Accord between Russia and Ukraine, which provided the control of this Sevastopol port to Russia. Now, this was again recognized in 2010, but this re-signing of this pact between Russia and Ukraine of handing over Sevastopol port to Russia was actually very unpopular when it came to Ukraine. So, fearing that any government in Ukraine might change or try try to bring Svetsol port back into Russia's control, Russia annexed this Ukraine territory. Also, these Novorossiysk and Sochi port, which are present in the Black Sea region, these are not deep water ports. So big ships, big military or big commercial ships, they can't dock on these ports. So that is why Svetsol port became very important for Russia. And this is present in Black Sea Ocean, which is a warm water territory, and which means it is operable, or ships can be operated in this piece of water body throughout the year, unlike the ports that are located in the northern part of Russia. Okay, so that is why Crimea is so important for Russia. Now, what is important from Black Sea or any discussion that we have had is the Kerch Strait that is located here. Kerch Strait actually allows the ports of Russia to connect with Black Sea. They have to travel through Kerch Strait, and whenever they have to go to Mediterranean Sea, they have to travel through Bosphorus Strait and through Dardanelles Strait here to enter Strait of Marmara. Okay, so this is the part where Russian ships can even reach Mediterranean Sea through Bosphorus and through Dardanelles Strait. Bosphorus Strait is where Istanbul is located. So you'll see the bridge in Istanbul that is located in Bosphorus Strait. So what becomes important from our exams perspective? This Black Sea, this Kerch Strait was also in news in December or January because of oil spill that happened in Kerch Strait. So all of this area naturally becomes important from our exams perspective. Now, Crimean was annexed by Russia back in 2014, much before this current war happened, right? Now, importance of Crimea, I have told you already. Quest of Russia for seeking warm water ports, because it can't operate ports in the northern part of the Russia. It provides a gateway to Mediterranean through Bosphorus and Dardanelles Strait, and the importance of Svetsopol, which is a deep water port, unlike the other ports of Russia located in Black Sea. Now, in context of current war, Kharkiv Pact of 1997, which allowed Russia to have control of Svetsol port from Ukraine, became very important. This was again, this Kharkiv Pact of 1997 said that Russia can control this port up till 2017. Now, Russia revised this act again, or this pact again, in 2027, which allowed Russia to control this port up till 2041. But this was very unpopular when it came to Ukrainian government, and because of the revolution that happened in Ukraine in 2010s, known as Maidan Revolution, it allowed Russian politics or Ukrainian politics to have a pro-West dispensation, and this proved very uncomfortable for Russia. And other Black Sea countries like Romania and Bulgaria, which were earlier part of Warsaw Pact of Russia, they also joined NATO, and it was expected that Ukraine will also join NATO. So this allowed Russia to conduct aggression on Ukraine, which we have already understood. Now, what becomes important from our exams perspective is Black Sea and the countries which are around it. So let us quickly understand which are the main countries that are located in Black Sea region. I have told you the abbreviation that you need to understand is burger, T-burger. Okay, so Turkey, Bulgaria, Russia, Georgia and Romania are the countries that border Black Sea. This is a large inland sea located between Eastern Europe and Western Asia, and it is connected to Mediterranean Sea via Bosphorus Strait to Sea of Marmara and Dardanelles Strait. Also, the rivers that are draining in Black Sea are Danube, Dnieper and Don. Okay. Yes, Rishi, you are correct. Yes, tundra vegetation is actually there in the northern part of Russia. If you're talking about Crimea, tundra vegetation is not there in Crimea. Crimea is actually a very water stressed region. Now, Kerch Strait also in news, I told you, because of a oil spill that happened in Kerch Strait. So what you need to remember about Kerch Strait is the oil spill. And also, Kerch Strait connects Sea of Azov with Black Sea. Now, Trump's proposal has been to recognize Russia's control over Crimean Peninsula, because earlier in 1950s or so, the Crimea was extended by Soviet leader to Kiev as a form of gift. Now, current dispensation of Russia does not accept this, and whenever Trump recognizes that Russia or Crimea is indeed a part of Russia, this will actually legitimize the illegal annexation of territory that was done by Russia. So, by freezing Ukraine's political map as it stands today, US will actually secure Crimea and the canal for use of Moscow for longer term, but this will be quite politically detrimental when it came to Ukraine, because Trump's proposal earlier will actually mean that Russia has now control of Crimea, and it can look to control other parts of Ukraine, which it has now gathered control over. Similarly, this recognition by US of a annexed territory by Russia will also provide an option for China that in future it can control or annex Taiwan and get it recognized by Russia. So this is a very detrimental effort which needs to be avoided. Okay. Now let's try to solve this question quickly. Kerr Strait. With reference to Kerr Strait, consider the following statements. Well, this is Kerr Strait. It connects what? Sea of Azov with Black Sea, right? So it connects Sea of Marmara with Black Sea, therefore incorrect. It separates part of Asian Turkey from European Turkey. This is incorrect. This is Bosphorus Strait, right? And which connects Black Sea to Sea of Marmara, it is also Bosphorus Strait. Okay. So both of them are incorrect. Option D is the right answer. And this is your homework. Please let me know the correct answer. Which of the following countries share the boundaries with Black Sea? The notes for this session as usual will be available on my Telegram channel. I'll see you again tomorrow at 4. Until then, please do revise. I will upload them on my Telegram channel. Okay. So all of you have gotten the last question incorrect.